joined once again by John Makdessi. The Bull is back here on the program. He's going to be taking on Ross Pearson at UFC on Fox 30 in Calgary at the end of the month on July 28th. John, what's going on, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. And, man, we got to talk about your last fight. What a performance that was, getting the unanimous decision over Abel Trujillo. I got to know, how much did it help training at Roufusport ahead of that fight? Because you really look like a different fighter in that matchup.
Yeah, man. Getting connected with Duke Roufus, he just kind of refired my spark. Made me realize that I have a lot of good skills, and we connect very well. The chemistry is there, and basically my goal was to go out there and to get back confidence, build up my confidence again.
Yeah, and it certainly looked that way. Was there anything about Abel that surprised you in that fight, or were you expecting him to come out like that?
Actually, he played the counter. He tried to counter. I'm usually the technician, and he's usually the brawler. And I was expecting him to be more aggressive, you know what I mean? And, in his interviews and how he would speak about how, everybody knows when I fought Lando Veneta, anyone that knows me, I wasn't really there, you know what I mean? Physically, I showed up, it's like this. You go to the we go to the octagon, but mentally, if you're not there, we're going to have a bad night, you know what I mean? Guys, you guys go to the office, normal people show up every day to work. And this is the hardest part about fighting. This is why I really try to emphasize, and people don't understand how much stress and pressure of how athletes we have, because especially in the UFC, because it's a higher magnitude, because of with money and the pressure to perform each time we step in, and having and athletes we're very crazy. Like, everything is ritual. We have to have a perfect training camp. Imagine that day you wake up and the guy looks at you in the wrong way. That can spin you off. That can spin you off guard, and then any little thing can happen. But long story short, I'm just I was happy to show I was there mentally. I was physically in great shape, and Duke Roufus and the Roufusport team is it's more simple. It's more like MMA oriented. You know what I mean? And I'm just glad to be able to go out there and perform at my best.
Now, that fight was back in December, and here we are talking about a fight in July. Did you want this much time off, or are you looking to get back in there a little bit sooner?
Well, the thing is, for me, like I said, I'm very in my brain a lot. The goal for me is I like to, of course, I want to be active as much as I can, but it's also, realistically, it's hard, you know what I mean? Personal life, like, I'm going back and forth from Canada to the US. It's a big transition for me, new team, new coaching, new life. I'm really starting over again, like, you know what I mean? So I had to jump a lot of hurdles, you know what I mean? So one step at a time. Of course, I want to be more active, but, it's also about being smarter, you know what I mean? I don't want to I want to fight fights that get me to the top 10.
No, I hear you. Third straight fight in Canada. Do you like fighting in Canada, or would you like a little variety in there?
Well, here's the thing, you know what I mean? I'm a Canadian, right? I was born in Nova Scotia, Halifax. I truly believe I'm one of the best lightweights in Canada. You know what I mean? Like, as a Canadian, I mean, who's more exciting than me? I'm the guy who always takes the risk to keep it standing on my feet. You know what I mean? I always try to give the fans excitement. You know what I mean? I'm always trying to give blood, sweat, and tears. You know what I mean? I want to prove to the UFC that I dedicated my whole life to this. I want to get paid more. I want to fight the bigger fights. I want to try to be more outspoken, and and being here at Roufusport, you know what I mean? It's given me the ability to, they're giving me a lot of attention, something that I lacked on my whole fighting career. People don't understand, when you're coming from when you're trying to build your bones and you're building your name under a gym that already has established high-level fighters, it's kind of hard to figure out what works for you, you know what I mean? And at Roufusport is kind of, I'm very lucky because Duke actually puts the time. What I like about Duke is he actually takes the time from his amateur to his professional guys. From the lowest guy to the highest guy, he treats everyone equal. And for me, it means a lot to me because I was lacking that in my career. A good teacher, a good father, a good mentor.
Yeah, and it certainly worked out well for you. Like I said, you got that win there at UFC on Fox 26. But now you're taking on Ross Pearson. You talked about having exciting fights. I don't think this fight can be boring in any regard. This is going to be an awesome matchup, potentially fight of the night. How do you feel like you match up against Ross in this fight? For
me, Ross Pearson, I'm taking him very serious, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, this guy, he fought the best lightweights. In my eyes, I'm fighting for the title. He's top guy. He's been fighting as much as long as I have been. He fought the best lightweight. He fought the best guys in the division. So it's going to be exciting.
That's great. And you talked about training at Roufusport. I imagine training partners are guys like Emmanuel Sanchez and Nate Jennerman, guys like that are in the lighter weight classes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I trained with Paul Felder, with Anthony Pettis. Emmanuel Sanchez is a good friend of mine, good training partner. I mean, there's endless guys, even the newcomers. You know, what I mean, a lot of guys who are turning pro, who are hungry guys who can. You know, what I mean. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like this: training is the hardest part. The hardest part. You know, weight cutting, all the stress. You know, and then at the fight night, I'm gonna have to adjust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you on that. How about the weight cut? Has that process started already, getting down to 155?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a very disciplined fighter. I follow a nutrition plan for the past 6 years. I have a nutrition coach, Ben Hoffman. He great mentor, great teacher. He always guides me. He always, you know, when it comes to weight cutting, you know, I haven't missed weight for the past 6 years, so everything is good.
And how do you see this fight playing out on the 28th? I think you're due for a finish. You know, I think the last opponent you finished was Shane Campbell. It seems like this is a good opportunity here against Ross Pearson.
Well, here's the thing, you know, I mean, anyone that knows me, when John is happy, when John is at his best relaxed, I'm the most dangerous.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true in this fight. Where do you feel like a win over Ross puts you? If you get the win here, I think it's your first 2-fight win streak since like 2013. It would be a while. And again, I know you've changed a lot, so there would be a lot of momentum here if you got a win.
Yeah, of course. I mean, yeah, it's always, you know, it's always a blessing. You know, the ultimate goal is to be victorious. But for me, it's also about giving a dominant performance and to prove to the UFC that I deserve not only more income, but I deserve to be in the top 15, top 20.
I agree. Is this your first time going to Calgary?
First time, yeah.
I was going to say, you're going to fit in right well there. You got the Bull nickname. You know, they're all into Cowboys and stuff. And, you know, you got the John Wayne thing going. I think it's going to work out well for you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, it should be interesting. What are you doing on your downtime in Milwaukee? You know, I'm sure you're missing home here and there, but what are you doing to kind of unwind? And, you know, when you're not training, I know recovery is a big part of that, but are you watching any TV or anything like that? Or, you know, reading any books, anything like that?
Yeah, man. In my 30s, since I hit 30s, I've been focusing a lot on personal growth. I've been writing my own book, actually, journal. Been writing just the 10 years of my ups and downs as being an MMA fighter, and maybe one day I can be a good mentor to the young guys. You know what I mean? So on my downtime, I'm very into my thoughts. I try to improve, self-improvement. You know what I mean? And I kind of, all I do is watch tape and just keep studying and keep learning.
How much was it motivating this past weekend seeing Gerald Meerschaert, Anthony Pettis, your teammates get big wins there? I mean, I'm sure that really, you know, gives you an extra boost heading into your fight because the team's on a roll right now.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, it just shows that the system is working. It shows that, you know, Duke Roufus and all the coaches in Roufusport, they all know what they're talking about. I mean, it's something nice to see, to witness in my own eyes, like how having a good, solid team working together from the striking to the wrestling to the grappling, covering all the angles. You know, it really releases a lot of stress on the fighters' part.
I agree. Last question before I let you go here. We've seen a few fighters make that transition to pro wrestling. I know you're not like a super outspoken guy, but you have the whole bull persona and everything else like I was talking about. Is pro wrestling something you'd ever do after your career is done? Because it seems like you got the whole persona going.
Well, you know, honestly, man, you know, martial art, something that I've been trying to, like, I'm very traditional, you know, I'm very reserved man, because martial arts is always quiet, don't talk, you know what I mean? The teacher would literally hit you if you try to act tough. If you fight in the streets, you would get expelled. You wouldn't be able to come back to the dojo. But, you know, obviously being in MMA and this whole WWE and how everybody is more talking. Me personally, I always try to let my fighting talk for me. You know what I mean? If you look at my fighting history, if you look at my record, they say, you know what I mean? You got fighters who have 50% striking, 80% grappling, 30% wrestling, whatever it is. I always try to be unique and different. If you look at my resume, they actually say 100% striker. That's the funny part, because I mean, I'm well-rounded. Obviously, there's a reason why I only got taken down once by a guy who's on TRT and was twice as my size. You know what I mean? Obviously, I fought big 155ers. I mean, look at now with the weight classes, how how the big 155ers are struggling to get down. I mean, obviously, if you look at my style, it's always been exciting, and I always kept it standing on my feet.
Okay, I agree with that. Did you ever watch pro wrestling growing up at all?
Yeah, of course. I'm more like when it was WWF, I was a big fan of Steve Austin, Steve Cole Austin, and obviously, guys like Hogan and who else? But I'm more like old school, but I stopped though. A long time. It's been a
A
while.
lot of us have. I'm the same way. I used to watch Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Mankind and all that, but then once they merged with like WCW, for some reason I stopped watching. So I don't know, it didn't have an appeal anymore. I kind of keep an eye on it now, but it's not the same.
Yeah, I don't feel exactly. It's not the same. I feel like it's watered down.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. Well, I'll tell you what's not watered down. This fight, this is going to be great. It's UFC on Fox 30 coming up here July 28th. John, it's always good talking to you, man. I always appreciate you taking the time. Just remind people where they can find you on social media, and if you have any sponsors or shout-outs, the floor is yours.
Yeah, man. Basically, at John Makdessi, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff. I post, I always try to post things, keep the fans updated. And I want to thank you for your time, and I want to thank all the Bull fans, and I want to thank everyone that's been supporting me throughout my whole career.